This is KGW News at noon.
The cost that Ukraine has had to bear has been extraordinarily high. And the sacrifices have been far too great.
Just hours ago, President Joe Biden addressed the people of Ukraine during an unannounced visit to Kyiv. He was in the Ukrainian capital just days before the one-year anniversary of the Russian invasion. Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Braxton. The president announced almost $500 million in military aid to Ukraine. Russia is calling this trip a political stunt and an excuse for the U.S. to escalate the war. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest.
President Biden making a surprise trip to Ukraine and meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Kyiv as Russia's war against the country nears the one-year mark.
1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you.
The unprecedented visit was months in the making, with details kept very secure and air raid sirens sounding during the president's stay. The president stopping at the Wall of Remembrance to lay a wreath. Mr. Biden noting how much Ukraine has lost in the war and announcing more aid is on the way.
And air defense systems all defend Ukraine, and that doesn't count the other $500 million we're announcing with you today and tomorrow.
As the violence rages on, White House officials say they've determined Russia has committed war crimes.
We believe that this is a systematic, deliberate effort by the Kremlin.
The U.S. also warns that China may be considering providing lethal aid to Russia.
We make clear to the Chinese that there will be consequences should they make that unfortunate decision.
The Biden administration sending a strong message to other countries.
Remind us that freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes, and that's how long we're going to be with you, Mr. President, for as long as it takes.
And pledging unwavering support for Ukraine. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Today, Portland police tell us street racing caused a deadly crash on Marine Drive over the weekend. Officers released these photos this morning. They show two cars in flames. The wreck happened just before midnight on Saturday. One driver died in the hospital this morning. Two other people are hospitalized with life-threatening injuries. At first, investigators thought only one car was racing. Now they believe the two cars were racing each other. At this point, we don't know the name of the person who died. When we get any more information, we'll update you on air and on KGW.com. Right now, local postal workers are demonstrating in front of the East Portland Post Office. That's on 7th Avenue, right between Taylor and Yamhill. They're demanding higher wages and better benefits, among other things. They're members of the National Association of Letter Carriers, and they're calling on USPS to settle their contract. KGW reached out to the Postal Service for comment this morning, but we haven't heard back yet. Well, in honor of President's Day, the Bureau of Land Management is waiving fees. That means free access to visitor centers, picnic areas, and national conservation lands. The closest places to the metro area are in the Mount Hood National Forest, right around Sandy and Molalla Rivers. They are highlighted in yellow on this map. If you'd like more information, go to blm.gov. So from the Cascades to the coast, the weather could impact your plans. This is a live look at Timberline and Cannon Beach today. So Rod, what do folks need to know?
Well, for the remainder of this afternoon, I think we stay pretty quiet. So far, we haven't had much of any precipitation. We may not even see scattered showers pick up until this evening. But what you need to know is what's going to happen overnight tonight and then into the coming days. So real quick, in green, warnings are up for high surf and dangerous seas at the coast. Storm seas will be building to about 24 feet into the day tomorrow. That can produce storm beach erosion, bring logs and that sort of thing inland and produce sneaker waves. The purple, the Cascades and the Coast Range, that's a winter storm warning starting at 10 p.m. tonight for heavy snow as the colder air starts to march in. And then in red out here at higher elevations in the gorge out toward the Columbia Basin, a wind warning starts at 6 p.m. for winds that could gust into the night to 60 miles per hour. Down low along the Columbia and the Dalles, then also in parts of Deschutes and Jefferson counties, it'll be more like, I say more like, a 50 mile per hour wind gust. So lots of things are going to be revving up tonight. How much snow in the mountains? 12 to 24 inches in the Cascades, 6 to 12 in the Coast Range. The Coast Range high passes could be impacted by early tomorrow morning, and then later going into Wednesday, all of the Coast Range highways have a good chance to pick up some snow. You can see the 60 mile per hour winds out there in parts of the Columbia Basin. I mentioned so far we're mainly dry. We do have the clouds, which are going nowhere. Otherwise, it's nice. We're at 52 degrees. We'll be at least 53, maybe 54 at 4 p.m. Shower chance starts a little bit to pick up later today. Eventually, we'll get into some evening scattered showers. Brenda, we're still talking about snow levels and all of us seeing at least snow showers going into Wednesday. We'll get into all of that coming up.
All right, we'll see you then. Thank you, Rod. Happening today, Vancouver police officers started wearing body cameras. By March 9th, all officers and supervisors will have them. Vancouver's police chief Jeff Morey told KGW that the department's budget has enough money for 220 cameras. He says an officer will be able to watch footage from their own camera before writing up a report. Here's how Chief Morey describes the benefits for the public.
I believe it makes us more efficient. It helps us with our report writing, make sure we gather all the details the way they were recorded. But equally important, it builds that transparency and trust with our community.
Last week, we reported Salem officers started wearing body cams. Portland remains the last major U.S. city without them, but negotiations are underway to bring them online. Well, all new police officers in Oregon will need to earn a college degree if one state senator has his way. KGW's Alma McCarty spoke with the sponsor of the bill, which is already getting pushback from law enforcement.
Senate Bill 779 creates, as Senator Lou Frederick explains, a different set of expectations for those tasked to protect and serve.
As you begin to create a different credibility that is sorely lacking in many of our communities regarding police force coming in. Folks will accept some things, but there's if anybody doesn't believe that there's a credibility gap, then they haven't been paying attention.
He's proposing a higher education requirement, a 2-year degree for officers in departments with 50 or fewer officers, and a bachelor's degree for departments with 50-plus officers.
We're not saying that everybody has to have a PhD, but we are saying that we want to see folks begin to have a broader sense of the community, of the world around them. They have the ability to injure and potentially kill somebody. So I want them well trained and understanding what's going on.
This week in Salem,
the first public hearing that we will have will be Senate Bill 779.
Lawmakers listened to testimony in committee. The vast majority spoke out against the bill. While they didn't dispute the value of education, opponents believe these requirements could make a current staffing crisis worse.
An incentive-based system works with encouraging more education. It should not be a punitive mechanism that may prohibit the best hire from getting through the door.
As valuable as education is, it takes time and money that many working families don't have.
We can't support such a narrow view of what makes a viable applicant or public servant.
Sergeant Aaron Schmautz, president of the Portland Police Association, echoed that view.
We're looking for candidates who want to serve, who have the right temperament. And we can train you, but we want to make sure that, again, that you have the right kind of mindset. It's not that education doesn't help or hurts. It just means that this job is a very kind of specific skill set.
Senator James Manning, who worked as a corrections officer and police officer, expressed that higher education for law enforcement would be a step in the right direction. Some of the comments made during the hearing, he said, disturbed him.
What I'm hearing is that you only need to breathe in order to get a job in law enforcement. That in itself is scary and it sends a bad signal.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Now to an update on the train derailment at the Oregon coast that spilled 2,000 gallons of diesel into the Yaquina River. This happened in Toledo at the Georgia Pacific Paper Mill on February 10th. No word yet what went wrong, but the diesel went into a storm drain and eventually got into the river. So far, there are no reports of wildlife being harmed. The DEQ says cleanup efforts will likely wrap up next week.